I'm William Graper, and this is The Recovering Elitist, a show that explores the space between who we appear to be and who we actually are. The tension, our transformations, and the truth behind success. On today's show, I'm joined by April Gargiulo, who's the founder of Vintner's Daughter, and someone who I've long admired because she's not only known for her cult status skincare, but honestly, she's quietly subverting what we've all been taught to value. In a culture that's obsessed with more, doing more, being more, buying more, April has built a business on less. A singular product made slowly with intention and care, and it's worked. Her botanical serum is a bestseller and a favorite among consumers and beauty editors alike. April reminds us that even though the world may reward speed, excess, and shouting, it's crucial that we slow down and we tune in and we devote ourselves to the process. To me, launching a brand with a singular product takes real courage and true confidence. And if The Recovering Elitist is about anything, it's about untangling our worth from the noise. So April, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, William. I'm thrilled to be here. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I mean it. I really do. I think we'll dive into this later, but launching a brand with the confidence to focus on a single product is just incredible to me. So we'll dive into that. But first, you grew up in Napa. I think of Napa as a place that's so steeped in a culture of the land and legacy and craftsmanship, wine. I want to know a bit about who raised you and about how that upbringing shaped your lens on quality and a life well lived.
So much. It's a community that focuses on quality, on craftsmanship, on building legacies. And that was certainly something that was also part of my family. I come from ultimately a farming family, and we spend a year growing grapes, 3 years making wine. And so that patience is something that I learned to appreciate. And, listen, I was also in a family that my dad didn't allow canned food in the house. It was all had to be fresh, whether he grew it or a friend grew it or somebody in the community grew it. That was also a big part of the values that my family instilled in me.
Do you think that's generational? I wonder where your parents got that, because I think about my own parents who are boomers, and no matter how much access we had to resource, we lived in Florida, which is a very different climate, obviously, for growing, but we had canned asparagus, no matter how fancy the meal was.
I'm so sorry, William.
I know. It's like I grew up thinking I couldn't be outside because it was too hot and food was canned. Tell me a little bit about where you think that comes from. Is that a California influence? Is that generational?
Well, William, here's the deal. My first growing up was in Florida.
Really?
And my mom's family, a big part of her family was in Napa. And my dad's was in Florida. He was farming agriculture in Florida. I completely understand. None of my friends wanted to eat at my house when they came over for sleepovers. Their parents would pack them peanut butter and jelly with the crust cut off. And my dad was making some kind of, in their mind, fancy dinner. He was growing arugula in the backyard before anyone had ever heard of arugula. So even in Florida, it was something that he was very focused on. And with that said, I think that his goal was always to move to Napa. So I think he was somebody who was deeply, first of all, he was already in a farming family, an Italian family that really focused on food. And then he was just completely seduced by that culture of Napa Valley.
It's so interesting you bring up Italy and that you have Italian family, because I keep thinking about Florence. Like when I think about Napa, I also think about Florence, and they're in very different ways. But it's crazy to admit I just went to Florence for the first time for my 40th a couple of months ago. And I was so moved by how much people valued what they made, the family, the generation, the passing down of craft. I just was like, this is how the world should be. What is Los Angeles? Like, what are these cities in the world we live in? In Florence, everything you look at has been touched by generations. and they care about passing that art form and that craftsman and that trade down. I have this sort of existential dread that we're going to lose these things over time. So families that continue to pass on and have reverence for their trade, I think, is one of the greatest things you can do for your family, but for the world.
Well, first of all, happy birthday. And what
Thanks.
an exciting trip to have done. I think the other thing that is very much a part of kind of more of an old world culture is honoring and respecting the time it takes to make something great.
Yes.
And whether that is growing the actual raw ingredients and also making it. And that's something that, again, I grew up in. Winemaking takes 4+ years to make, and you're making something that you want to not only last for decades, but to get better. And for me, making skincare that takes 3 to 5 weeks to make every bottle felt like literally nothing. I was like, this is genius. This is only going to take me 3 to 5 weeks. And then I found out that most skincare is made at about 3 hours or less. In your beautiful introduction, you called it, I don't know, but it was a much more dramatic word. I would think it is, yes, a deep belief in the speed of quality, but also a large part of naivete that did not realize that was how the beauty industry operated.
And in so many ways, how the world operates.
Absolutely. And increasingly so.
Yes, and I think about how social media is like the fuel on that. And I hadn't planned on asking you about social, but just a natural segue is, how do you think about social, and how do you think about our interaction with it and the speed with which we are asked to keep up with it to sell product?
Well, I think the speed everywhere, right? The speed of social media, the immediate access, the constant updating, alongside the speed of products and this kind of treadmill of new and more and next and new and more and next, and it keeps speeding up. Ultimately, this, I mean, it's addictive, right? It's these dopamine hits over and over and over again. And it is also something that we call social media, but it disconnects you from the
Mm,
world. Ultimately, I think connection is this unifying force for good. It's something that we all need very deeply, whether it's connection to self, connection to community, connection to nature. It's one of the things that with Vintner's Daughter, I'm so proud that we provide that, whether it is something that someone actually consciously recognizes or something that is subliminal and impacting them in ways they don't even realize.
So take me back to that moment in your kitchen 15 years ago where you're describing three different startups you're working
Mhm.
on, two dispassionately, and one of them you had a strong reaction to, that one being Vintner's Daughter. So tell me a bit about that moment, that feeling, and what those other businesses were, even just categorically.
Sure. One was nutritional food, superfoods, and this was 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And one was in the wine space, and one was Vintner's Daughter. And I was parallel pathing each of them. This is a visceral memory. My husband and I, he's also an entrepreneur. We were sitting around our kitchen island, and he asks me to describe each one. And I start with the wine project. Then I talk about the superfoods, and each of those, maybe that's 5 to 10 minutes, probably closer to five, to be honest. Then I start talking about Vintner's Daughter, and it is very clear from the energy I begin with, even having this sparkly eye moment. From there, I knew that's what I needed to focus on.
Yeah, you mentioned your heart kind of exploding in that moment. And
Yes.
I'm curious, how do you know your heart's exploding? What does it feel like for those of us who are maybe so stuck in our heads we don't really feel our own body to know? So what does that feel like? And then how do you even trust that's not just like I'll have ideas and
Well,
I'll
it's probably a bit of mania, by the way.
but sometimes it's the thing that we have the most feeling for can also just that feeling can scare us or think, "Oh, maybe I'm just making that up," or maybe that's irrational. Just
Mm.
curious your relationship to that.
A big part intuition. It's a big part for me. It was the thing I needed. It was this product that I knew I needed, I knew didn't exist in the world. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents are very much in the vein of what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Mm.
Again, it was something that just propelled me forward. I almost didn't have a choice.
I love hearing stories like that because it's such a gift to be so clear. So much of the coaching in the wellness world in trying to help people figure out what they want to do with their life, the thing that's always missing is like, if you don't know, you don't know. Like you can coach somebody to work hard and make plans, but if you don't have that feeling intuitively that this is what you're meant to be doing with your life, it's very hard to move forward in anything. So just to know is such a gift.
Well, there's two different sides of it, right? There's a band called the Avett Brothers, and they have this line that I've remembered for years and years, and it's decide what to be and go be it. And they're equally as hard.
And we're taught really just the doing part of what you've said, which is go do it, go be it.
Exactly. Yep.
I was so fascinated by your distinct remembrance of having 3 different things you were tracking at the same time. I have somebody I'm very close to who calls it tickets to the raffle. He's an agent, so he's very big on tickets to the raffle. You know, you can have this TV show idea and it may or may not go and you can work really hard on it. It's not meritocracy. It just may not work out. So you need to have multiple tickets to the raffle. I spent my 20s working in fashion and being very maniacal and specific about what I was doing. And I believe that if you do one thing very well, you will be successful. But we move along in this world, you know, especially I hear Gen Zers talking about this a lot. People aren't really doing one thing anymore. What's the difference to you between allowing our humanness to say we do multiple things, we care about multiple things? You've had a few careers, I've had a few careers. But then to have the singularity and the singular point of view to launch with one product. To me, it's so hard to wrap my head around this, how that's different and the same.
It was also a different time. It was...
Tell me more.
Well, it was 15 years ago. And this little thing called Instagram was nascent. And the speed, it just hadn't started like it is today. And it's the speed, but it's just the ratcheting up the speed every day, it feels like. People taking advantage of that speed and having a lot of money that they can jump in and just start going. I had a lot of constraints. I had financial constraints. I had a kid at home. So it was what I could do. I didn't cut off, how do you say that, more than I can chew? And again, I just had that incredible passion. And there were a lot of roadblocks when you only have one product in the beauty industry. The majority of beauty was these huge department stores with these huge lines that had, I don't know, 25 plus SKUs. And I was talking about one. I had so many stockist partners, retail partners who told me no. I've been in sales for a long time. And for me, I very much have this, okay, you said no, but I hear not yet.
Yes.
And again, I had such a deep belief in what I was doing and active botanical serum at the time. We've tripled in size, William. I have 3 products now.
Well, I was going to say you have 3 products now, but that's still compared to the SKUs and brands you're talking about, you're still able to keep that noise at bay, which is amazing.
At the time I launched, there was really only brands with huge SKUs. And like I said, I had so many retailers that said, no, no, no. I am very proud to say that I am one of their top brands and products within their SKU assortment now. So the not yet worked out. There's a lot of talk about noise right now. And by the way, for good reason. And there's so many brands who are coming out every day who are saying things like, we're going to cut through the noise with our 10 new products. In reality, they're just adding to the noise. I mean, listen, there's so much gaslighting in the beauty world and really marketing at large.
Well, I think you touch on something that's quite helpful to hear, which is, you didn't say this, but how I would put it is like the necessity can be the mother of invention, in that it's what you had, it's the resources were limited. And so you did what you could do and that created magic. And I think so many of us go from 0 to 100 because of that noise, where we have one idea that's a good idea. And then we're like, but it needs to be a global empire and have all these extensions and things we can do with it in the long run.
I have to scale. I have to scale tomorrow. Well, here's the deal, William. I was building, and I still am, a legacy company. I want to build the very first, and this is the manic crazy. I want to build the very first heritage luxury skincare company in the United States. So I have this very long timeline. I have very intentionally not taken on investment because, as you probably know, if you take on investment, and this is just how the game is played, those investors need to recoup their money within 3 to 5 years. And so, in order for them to get the biggest sale price, they need to increase revenue really fast. Again, I come from the world of winemaking where there is this generosity of time. In our office, we have, and this was to celebrate our 10-year anniversary a couple of years ago, we have a huge sign that says 10 years down, 100 more to go.
Yeah, I mean, the luxury of time and offering that to your team and to yourself is just such a practice. I don't know anyone who just lives in that place all the time. I really have to like come back to the things that ground me to remember that I can slow down. So I love that just built into your business model is this idea that you're going to be around forever. This is a long-term thing. So it just immediately your nervous system can settle. I think what so many people don't realize about creating a business are the restraints you're talking about and the requirements of success you're talking about. For example, large beauty retailers saying the color of the year is red and you must have a product that features red, or the color of the year in furnishing is pink and you must create a product that's pink. So you can end up in these funnels and channels of marketing that these big businesses will push your stuff out for. You know this, I know this, but I think so many people starting a business don't realize that. And we can get caught up in thinking, Sephora really wants me, so that's a sign of success. And then you just end up in this hamster wheel where you're not creating any more of what you want to be creating. So I'm sure you've had these opportunities come your way. How do you say no when the opportunity to say yes seems pretty great?
It's really seductive and very seductive.
Yeah.
But I also know I can't do what I want to do. I can't build the kind of company I want because their incentives are different than mine. I just have a huge belief around that and a huge amount of discipline and integrity around it.
You've talked about how your previous career in design, architecture, and as well as winemaking felt kind of disparate and disconnected. How have those parts of your background shown up in your business today?
I would not have said when I went from design in New York City and I was working for a family run company that works with the most incredible, most thought leader architects and designers in the world. I never would have told you that there was any kind of through line between that and when I went to the wine world. None. But once Vintner's Daughter and I developed Vintner's Daughter, it became very clear to me the intentionality and integrity that each of these moments had, and that each kind of built upon my goal and my idea because they had both proven it. They had given me examples of how you do it. And they were much farther along, obviously, than when I was just starting. I knew there was precedent and I believed in it.
Well, let's talk about imposter syndrome a little bit because I
Mm-hmm.
know that's something that you've said you're recovering from. We ask everyone who comes on the show to talk about something they're recovering from. It's a process. Some days we're really good at it and some days we're terrible at it. But I want to segue into imposter syndrome a bit because this idea that our past is not making sense with where we're going, and we've spent all this time in design or we've spent all this time in winemaking, and how are we possibly going to make all this fit together? But in our body and mind and heart, we feel that there's something here, From my own experience, having gone from fashion to studying psychology and thinking I wanted to be a therapist to interior design, I couldn't see that through line for myself either. And I had so many days of feeling like I was an imposter, feeling like I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I keep bouncing around. What is this? I want you to talk a little bit about what your imposter syndrome tells you and how you keep it at bay.
First of all, I say that interior design is probably half therapy.
It is. But at the moment, you don't always know that they're connected, right?
Right.
Winemaking and your brand now don't seem fully connected until you recognize that they so are.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so my imposter syndrome shows up more in management and operational expertise. Not that I have a huge team, but I have a bigger team than I had ever had before. And I lost confidence in my ability to grow past, I don't know, 5 people and thought I needed outside help. The reality is that nobody could build a structure better than me to meet the values of our company
Mm.
and where we wanted to be, because it's just so counterintuitive to pretty much everybody else in business. I would say that it wasn't until, I don't know, literally the last couple of years where I gained the confidence to say, no, 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 no. This is our North Star that has never changed. And the only way we're going to get there is for me to be CEO.
Was there an example or a specific memory in time that you can think of that where you were really struggling with that imposter syndrome?
Yes, when I had somebody else in that position that was going about it in such a completely opposite way than I would have, and me thinking that was right because they had done it before.
Mm.
And I was trusting that because they had done it before, they could do it at Vintner's Daughter. But again, the model was so completely different. And it took me a bit to recognize that it was a round hole square peg.
I love what you're saying because you're talking about the giving away of power,
Yep.
which I don't often relate to imposter syndrome. So for me, my own experience of imposter syndrome is I'm going to keep doing this thing, even if I'm freaking out inside and feeling like I can't, sort of fake it till you make it. But I love that you're giving this alternative to that, which is sometimes we just pull ourselves out of the game entirely because we feel like an imposter and we put someone else in and we give our power away. So I haven't heard it explained in that way. And I love that take on it.
I don't. But it was an incredible learning experience. Now that I'm on the other side of it, I have so much more clarity, so much more really honesty with myself, belief in myself, and just conviction that I didn't have before.
I love your candor and humor about it. Of course, when we're in it, nothing is more miserable,
Hmm.
especially when it's your baby, it's your life, it's your work, it's your blood, sweat, tears. So I want to talk a little bit about failure. From the outside, you have little of it. You have 3-star products. They're all doing very well. Your skincare is a cult favorite, bestseller. So where does failure show up in your life historically and how would you define it?
I mean, not to keep going back to the same, but it's pretty fresh. I feel like I failed my team. Yeah, I have the most extraordinary team. I love my team so much, and team, as you know, is everything. I do not feel that I was being as strong as I should have been about where we were going and where we wanted to go and the vision, the mission that they all signed up for.
I feel the words you're speaking. Like I can feel that it's fresh. And have you forgiven yourself for that?
I would say yes. I mean, it's a process, but I would say yes. We're in such a good place now. And again, my team's extraordinary. I don't think they would see it like that necessarily, but I think they're really happy to be back on track.
It's interesting to be an employee or to be a supporter of a founder and to want the North Star to be the North Star. And
Hmm.
it can feel like loss or it can feel like a lack of direction. And ultimately, we also have to forgive the North Star, the founder, and say, everyone's human here. And I think from everything I've heard about you today and have learned about you and how you run your company, you're so transparent on your website about your ethos and the ethical code with which you run your company. Something tells me they understand.
Well, I mean, and now we have this incredible kind of 360 where we sit down and we talk about a value.
Hmm.
Where are we living up to it? Where can we learn? Everybody comes with a different perspective. Creative comes with a different perspective. Ops comes with a different perspective. DTC. And I love those moments because we all get to hold each other accountable, not in a blame way by no means, but a way that says, okay, here's a place we want to grow into. Our values are something we hold very deeply and we think about it every single day and every single action and decision. And you could always improve.
Where did your core values for the brand come from in terms of the articulation of them? Because I've worked with many founders who have core values And oftentimes, I think the breakdown comes from the fact that they've not shared them explicitly with the team. They're like, I have core values as a human, but then there's no separation around my personal core values and the ones with which I'm asking my company to live by. Tell me a bit about the definition of those values and how you set them for your team explicitly.
You're in my head. You're in my head from the last 3 or 4 years. Our values was in my heart. And when I was making all the decisions day to day, it was easy to make a decision based on those because I knew them. I felt those. One of the things I learned over the last couple of years is that you have to write them down. You have to literally put them on the wall. You have to discuss them as a team. You have to hold your decisions up to them. And so that is a practice and an exercise that we hadn't been doing before, but we are now. And it's fun. It's joyful. We all have a lot of gratitude for each other and what we get to build every day.
Was there a way with which you pulled those personal values out of yourself to articulate for your team? Was there coaching involved? Was there writing involved? How would one get in touch with articulating what those values are?
It was a lot of throwing everything out there. I mean, listen, our values are gratitude and joy and confidence in your skin, but there's so much more that goes into it that it was really about understanding what they all were. And they're all kind of like this web, right? But really creating as much as we could distinction around each one. So they were easier to recognize versus it feeling a little wishy-washy.
How do you balance staying out of outcomes, staying out of expectation with real goals for yourself?
Oh, we have real expectations and real goals for ourselves. No question.
Of course. Yeah. So how do you set those?
As a team, right? And we have to be a healthy business. We have to be a profitable business. I want to provide incredible resources and healthcare and 401k. We have to have all of those and we have to do the things within our value system. We have to do the things that will allow us to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me at times to balance the earthy, grounded, present person I'd like to be with the forward thinking, goal oriented business person. And I think the world is constantly asking us to be both, and it's dizzying personally. So I'm always trying to soak up people that, look, I'm with you, and I feel like time is slowing. Like you have an incredible groundedness in you that I can feel through the screen that is a slowing of time that allows me to feel slower and grounded and with you. And then you're going to get off this call and you're going to be the CEO and you're going to run a company. So maybe those are just one and the same because you have so much practice with it. But for me, that's a very hard sort of tightrope to walk. So just curious if that comes naturally to you and always has, or if it's an effort.
How do I want to say this? The heart in the spiritual place comes very easily for me. The kind of head piece doesn't as much. And as we've grown, I've had to learn that. I also, again, not to keep saying this, but it's so true. I have an extraordinary team that holds us all accountable and that helps me and helps me learn. And I'm really honest about this. Like, hey guys, I need you to bring up the big things that we need to look at that I might not be seeing and sit around a table and understand where we are now, where we're going. If it's something that, hey, this is going to become an issue, we need to look at this now. I have incredible balance around my exec table, and I recognize it's something that I really have to lean into and learn.
That's incredible to have the head of a company saying, please tell me what I'm not seeing. Please tell me what I don't know. I mean, that's an incredible example to set for your team. You know, I aspire for that myself and my team. Shifting a bit, I want to talk about provenance and how that is something that in the design world is so important for selling of a table and knowing where it came from and the exclusivity of it and marking it up. And it creates a system of status and hierarchy that is crucial to, or seems crucial, I should say, to design, architecture, as well as wine for that matter. So curious your relationship to that and what changed for you.
There's shades of gray, right? I think that I want to be very respectful of that designer and the integrity with which he approaches it and the materiality. And so there's that, which is very real. I think there's also a piece that says, I want people to know that I appreciate this Pouvet light, or I don't even know whatever it is, right? So there's like a little bit of conflict. I think wine is the same, right? You have bottles of wine that I know just from my own family wine experience that there is no other wine that could be made in that place. And that is real. That label tells a story. And there are so many other beautiful wines that are made in a very special place that don't signal what our wine signals. And then, from a vintner's daughter standpoint, I have a lot of copycats. I have a lot of dupes. I have a lot of people who sell my product on Amazon that it isn't my product. Who knows what it is, but it's my label and it's my bottle. And exactly. I mean,
that blatantly?
I've had people create entire websites that look exactly like mine.
Oh my gosh.
Like entire websites. And
oh my goodness. So you've had so many people dupe your product. I think you're speaking to this tension between the importance of provenance and then also that it can get caught up in being about status or about expressing exclusivity in sort of a snobbish way. And so there is a time and a place for the origin of something, the history of something, the exclusivity of something.
And I think you're pointing to the right thing. If it is true expression, true quality, true craftsmanship, that to me earns that provenance. If it is a flashy, just trendy, flashy moment that signals that I just spent $5,000 on this, I don't think that's probably a healthy way to engage in it. I don't think that is provenance. Whatever people want to do, ultimately, that's
Sure. We all believe that as a starting point. But I'm wondering, do you think that the luxury and the wellness worlds have an elitism problem?
That's a great question. I think everything has an elitist problem. That's an elitist problem. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some industries where you can see the fabrication. You can see the quality of the materials. You can see the quality of the stitching. You can taste the quality of the wine. I think in particular, beauty is like a black box. The only thing you can really recognize is the packaging. You can't understand what's in it. That is how I got into this. I was the girl when all their friends were buying expensive handbags. I was buying expensive skincare. One day I started looking at the ingredients and was shocked that this $300 bottle of skincare I had bought was made with the lowest quality, cheapest ingredients. And most likely, not most likely, for sure, the packaging cost more than what was in the bottle. And as somebody who is a consumer of beauty, it's really hard for you to understand that.
Well, yeah, and they know that as a consumer of beauty, you're going to really care about that packaging too. So it's like they're catching you on all senses. I guess what we're also talking about is how we differentiate between discernment and sort of the snobbery of it all. And what are those for you?
We get asked this all the time. What is your demographic? And we've done the studies, and as it's suspected, it is literally all over the map. What we know is we have a psychographic, and our psychographic is the most discerning women in the world. I don't mean the wealthiest. I don't mean the most educated. I don't mean the ones that live on coasts or what have you. I mean the most discerning in the women in the world because they demand a set of values by anything that comes into their life.
And those values are physical, holistic?
I think it's all. I think it is materiality. I think it is sustainability. I think it is how you not only treat our earth, but how you treat our people. I think it is visual. I think they want things to be beautiful. It's many things at once. Performance, of course.
You're speaking to, I think, the evolution of our culture as well. And that is maybe one of the positives about social media, which is the speed with which we get information now is informing us of who our brands are and what they stand for. I mean, obviously, there's tons of garbage out there, but for brands to be able to convey their message about what they stand for is now, there's no getting around it. We now know what products are terrible because there are apps that can tell you. You can scan them.
Oh, right.
Technology has helped us understand our products and these brands a little better potentially, or do you disagree?
I think it's harder because I think it's harder every day to understand, fact from fiction.
Tell me more.
Most skincare is made very similarly with the exact same ingredients. There are very few labs in the world that make everything. And so you buy the same, like 3 or 4 combination of ingredients that 10 other people have. And you say, this is my XYZ technology. And it seems new and exciting, and then it can do something different. And the reality is it can't. I just think it's really hard for the consumer. I think it's just really hard for her to understand, like I said, fact from fiction.
I've been using Biologique Recherche for 20 years, and I have always been a bit of a beauty snob. When I started reading about your products and studying them really ahead of our call, I was like, I want to try all these products because
Well, I will send them to you, of course.
please do, because I really am starting to care more. And I think that ever since I've looked behind the curtain and found out that Oz is like a speaker on the wall, I'm like, oh, maybe even though my skin does look really good, maybe I'm harming myself. This is 40s in terms of going down the rabbit hole of health and wellness. And it's like all these things are affecting our health. So to know that there are people like you out there that are dedicated to making product that is not only helping us look and feel our best, but like is actually healthy for us is really exciting.
I mean, for me, safety, sustainability, impact on our people, charitable contribution, that is table stakes. I actually rarely talk about it. For me, it's about performance, and it has to be multi-beneficial performance, is why we only have 3 products, because believe it or not, I'm not the girl who likes to sit in the bathroom and put 12 steps on, but I still want performance. I still want to have beautiful skin. So it was about creating as few products as possible to be able to have all the results I wanted.
So you said your mission is to marvel at the beauty and strength of the world, and you speak very candidly about the world, its people, the earth. I'm wondering how you manage to keep that wonder alive as you run your business.
I feel, by the way, incredibly gratitude that I have as much passion, if not more, than I did when I began. And when I began, it was about creating a product for me, right? It was about creating my dream product. I didn't think about the community that it would build. I was just really singularly focused on what was in the bottle. And over the years, we have built this extraordinary community, like I said, of these incredibly discerning women. We have one of the highest retention rates you can have across industries. I have so much gratitude for those women. I have so much gratitude for our community. And I always want to live up to their expectations. And we're really lucky. We get testimonials all the time. And to have that feedback is really energy producing.
As we close here, I have 2 final questions for you. The first one is, what's something in your own life that can be small or ordinary that feels just absolutely luxurious and yummy to you?
Nature. I'm really lucky to live in Northern California, and I get to experience it in so many different ways. I get to experience it every time I put Vintner's Daughter on my face. We start with whole plants. I get to experience it in my surroundings in Napa Valley. We have these gorgeous redwood forests. I do this insane thing of cold plunging in San Francisco Bay many times a week. That connection. I drink whole leaf tea every morning. That's also this kind of connection. I think a connection to nature is a connection to self. And to get to have that is something that I have really deep respect for and gratitude for.
Can I tell you something on the side that I have started doing now that I learned up at Esalen and Big Sur is...
Oh, Esalen. Let's just have a moment. Esalen, come
Right?
on. Yeah, oh, please,
Oh my
please.
God. It's the best thing. I won't even tell you how many times I went last year. But we're recovering from elitism, and needing a trip every few months.
It's a great place to do it.
It is. I will just get naked and I will just lay in the grass in the backyard for just 5 minutes. It's like charging your phone, but for your whole body.
Getting in the ocean is that for me. We're going super woo-woo right now.
Yes.
But the energy that ocean carries from thousands and thousands of miles and from thousands of years is something that is incredibly energy producing. Anyway, try it. If you come up to San Francisco, I'll tell you, you have to wear clothes.
I would love that. Or like at Esalen, I've been to Esalen 2 different times. I was laying in the tubs and there were just full-on meteor showers over the tubs. And I'm like,
magic.
None of these are SpaceX. These are all real. And I was just so in awe of it. It makes you in awe of yourself and your own abilities and people around you. It's just like all things are made possible when you experience the awe and wonder of nature. And that is woo-woo as hell. We are going to end with my final question. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to her now?
That's a great question. I would think your success, your accomplishment isn't measured by anybody else but yourself.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. April, thank you so much for being on the show today. You have slowed time for me in a way that is just lovely to be with. And I'm going to spend the rest of my day in this pace and in this tempo. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing that through your products for the world. Can you tell people where they can learn more about you and find Vintner's Daughter?
Sure, vintnersdaughter.com. We have more information than you probably ever need. We're so proud of who we are and what we do. We're not a 130 character brand. On the website, we get to unpack everything we are and everything we want to do.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
My name is April Gargiulo, and I am recovering from external validation.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Recovering Elitist. Our show is produced by Christopher Michael, Kelsey McWilliams, and Sasha Grinblatt, with audio post-production by Griffin James. Special thanks to Chase Coughlin for our original theme music and Justin Teodoro for our original artwork. We'd really like to hear from you. What are you recovering from? We hope you'll join the conversation on Instagram or at therecoveringelitist.com, and we hope you'll like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes each and every week. Thank you for listening.